No, I'll tell you what. Let's do a little bit of intel. Let's figure out what's going on, and then we'll wrap up as soon as I can. So, first of all, everybody, I got word this morning from a couple of different sources that last night, late last night into about 1:30 in the morning, Eastern Daylight Time, that Iraq had effectively revalued. Excuse me. See, I used to have my mute switch, and I could just mute myself like that.
All right, there you go.
So, of course, here's the thing.
Of course.
We knew they had a new in-country rate for a while. Their key cards have been active. They got the new Visa key cards in addition to the MasterCards with Revalued Bank. They've got the new Visa key cards that are tied to Rashid Bank. And those cards, as you remember, are for the portion of oil revenue sharing that the citizenry receives every month on their new Visa cards. And that just started. I believe Saturday was the first day they were really to receive any funds on that. Okay, they could activate it last Thursday, I believe it was, and then they could receive funds this past Saturday. So that is really cool. That's something that's fairly new. And then we're also in the position where Iraq has been receiving this financial education for the citizenry to teach them about banking and about the banking system. And, for example, their students throughout this and so on. In other words, this is a real effort to try to bring the citizens of Iraq really up to speed with the idea of online banking. That training, that formal week of training, if you will, ended yesterday, the end of the month. But they will still do some supplemental training in the future. But it's cool that they got that in and finished that as they were expected to do by the IMF. Now, regarding Iraq, today is May Day, May 1st, right? May Day used to be the old town and making all that happen and not messing up. Us in the U.S., our markets were open today. It was kind of like, so what? May 1st, May Day, big deal. It's not really that big of a holiday or a celebrated day here. But that's not the case in China, and I believe in other parts of Southeast Asia, not just China, and it's certainly not the case in the middle. Those guys' markets, listen to me, their markets were closed today, May 1st. China, of course, the ISX in Iraq, Iran. I think they all closed up. The point is they revalued, let's call it late last night and into the overnight, our time, but nobody really, it's like that tree that falls in the forest. You know, if nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, in this case, the revaluation took place, but we haven't really seen it here yet, but we did get it confirmed through several other sources throughout the day that, yes, it did, in fact, happen. Now, do they want us to know about that yet? Probably not. So, and I think we're just going to have to wait till tomorrow maybe to see it. But I thought that was huge news, guys, because we're looking forward to show on the CBI.IQ website. And we know that the rate has been traded on the bank screens. We know it's been on, it's been off for days with a blinking, flashing rate. We know it's come back on and it stayed within a trading range, you know. And it's just, they're just sort of been playing with it over the last week or two. And now it should be solid. It should be solid. and I'm hopefully we'll find that out, if not tonight, tomorrow, on that. But this is what we're looking for. This is what we're looking to have happen. And my understanding was our President Trump, sort of initiated the release of this for Iraq last night late. Now, this also gives Iraq their sovereignty. This is a good example of that, because not only did they finally get permission to revalue and to do that, their ATMs, which have the lower denominations, have value now, and that can move forward. The other thing is our U.S. military pulled out of Iraq 2 days ago. And that means that Iraq is in a position to protect their own citizenry. And that's a good thing. You know, our president wanted to pull out of the Middle East. And also, when it comes to all of this is calculated out. But the good news is we're seeing signs of Iraq's sovereignty again. And we wish them the very best as they move forward into new infrastructure projects, new development in their country through other investment from other countries and their companies coming in, all essentially sovereign, and can quite a deal over there, I'm sure. Now, the other thing is we are looking for more and more countries to reflect the fact that they are asset-backed, and we generally think of gold-backed, silver-backed, platinum-backed, whatever other precious metals. Obviously, it could include, like in the case of Zimbabwe, huge diamonds and other precious gems and other precious minerals and exotic minerals too. All of those can be used, as well as intellectual property in our case and other things, to establish the assets by which the country is asset-backed. I think in the fairly near future, we have had some things happen overnight in the last couple of nights. Hey, we could be ready for another boom tonight like that, another incident that would take place tonight. We're hearing there is one more thing to go, not really sure what it is exactly. Obviously, we'd love to see it be our gold-backed or asset-backed dollar. I just don't know that we're going to see that announced quite yet. I don't know about that. For us now, I believe China wanted not only for Iraq to go when they went, which was sort of done, like I said, by the urging of President Trump, but also for us to go now. I mean, we are next. We should go really pretty shortly here. That's what I'm hearing. Will something like toll-free numbers come in overnight or tomorrow? I sure hope so. I don't know what the timing is going to be exactly. They don't tell me. All I know is that I'm ready to receive them. Once I receive them, I don't care what time, day or night, to go in and do your exchanges and your Zim redemption. I am drawing a distinction between Zim redemption, since it's a gold-backed bond, and currency exchange at the exchange locations. Redemption centers, currency locations. I'm drawing it. Doesn't mean if you're a Zim holder, you don't take the rest of your currency and get it. I think we're really there as far as, you'll be treated very, very respectful in redemption should you have it. The screen rates were great. You're going to have no problem with that. I just think, guys, this is going to be a bigger blessing than we ever thought it could be. Please understand this. Your structured payout might not be 25 years, might be less than that for other currencies other than the Zim. I believe the Zim will probably give you options that'll go 10, 15, 20, 25 years on the Zim as far as the length of term for your structured payouts. I think when you go in, even though I thought I would have a much higher percentage for humanitarian projects, the banks are really, and redemption centers are set up for something where 80% would be the maximum for redemption, for the humanitarian. Even 60 to 80% is going to be understood to be realistic from the perspective of the redemption centers. If you try to go higher, saying, I'm giving all of it to everybody, like I was going to do, then they're going to just go, no, there's no way you can do that. It's too much and blah, blah, blah. They're just not going to be as willing. So go ahead and take a percentage. of around 80% or less for humanitarian projects, and then 20% or a little bit more for personal use. The old 80-20 thing, okay? It's not that they have an established percentage for you. It's just it's sort of a do not exceed thing. Do not believe you can use that much for humanitarian. Realize this: if you do have a lot of them, well, it doesn't take a few notes. If they're 50 Ts or 100 T notes and above, it doesn't take too many to turn this thing into some cents or so large. But realize that this, I'm trying to see what the point I was trying to make was, turns into such a base of principle to invest from the bank's perspective, from your perspective. So it seems like a low rate for that much money. Well, you got to realize this: you have the ability to negotiate that to an extent, but you guys realize when you put 2, 3, or even 4% per year as an APR on a huge amount of base capital to invest with the bank on the structured payout, it turns into huge amounts every quarter in interest. That is money that you'll use for your projects. You'll also have it, if you decide to use that for your personal use, a large amount that comes into your purse. People think in terms of, well, I got to make 15 or 20%, or I'm going to make, if you were realistic and you do the math, which your calculators can't even calculate, you have to just do it in your head, really, if you can do it, you'll find that the amount of interest that you're going to earn is going to be ridiculous. And, you're going to just do the very best you can to I'm going to use the term invested in people's lives, invested in your humanitarian projects, invested in ministry, invested not only here but in other countries, you know what I mean, in the people, housing, the Rebuild America program that we're doing together, the veterans, all of that. It's going to be amazing. And you're going to be going, oh my God, it turns into a ridiculous amount. So put a paper and pencil to it, right, or use a calculator and try to calculate just what you're actually, or 8% or whatever on interest. You don't need it. Okay. And I just wanted you guys to know that. So we are at the point, I believe, that we are next. We are next. Iraq went, it's our turn. We're next. We know that this GCR involves all 206 countries' currencies. And some will go up, some will go down a little bit, but we're all trying to get to a level playing field, which this is doing. And some currencies may not revalue, if you will, in this first basket of currencies that were in this first basket of some other currencies out there we've not ever talked about. I've been aware of some of them, but really, to be honest, I think we're all good with what we have. You've been chosen to do something amazing, not just for yourself. You need to think, take those tent pegs, just like the prayer of Jabez, and expand your tent. And maybe expand your mind. See what else people join me on Rebuild America. And what does that really mean? It means a community that you're going to try to rebuild it using to put your project of rebuild on how to do it. We'll show you what we're going to do in, let's say, whatever cities I could do. And I'm hoping you guys will just start choosing towns and cities around this country first in the U.S. I want 5,000 people, okay, volunteering from the big call to say, yeah. And maybe that'll be just the start. Maybe it'll be 10 or 20,000, but it'll be America. And we're going to create jobs with it. Oh my God, trade schools and apprenticeship, because we've got kids coming out of college that can't get a job. I want to go spend $200,000 for 4 years of college when I something as a heavy machinery operator, $100,000 easily in that after their apprenticeships and after they get rolling a little bit. And that's what we're going to have to do, guys, because we're going to need those people to do those jobs. You see, a lot of us are going to leave our current job because we're not going to need a job. We're not going to need to work for the money. If you continue working, it's because you love your job. Because we have a whole new job now, which is the job of a philanthropist into other people's lives, okay? Into other communities, into other countries, all of that. That's your new job. So a lot of people are going to drop out of the workplace. It's going to be funky. It's like the jobs report is going to look like everybody quit. And all of a sudden, only so many new jobs were made. Well, what we have to do as part of our project is create new jobs, hire new people to fill those jobs, create and purchase infrastructure, our lifetimes, Rebuild America could go for hundreds of years. The Jetsons were actually happening and taking place throughout the country. You know what I mean? Where we have maglev railway from major cities, and they're able to do that faster than flying on an airplane and going through the hassle of the airport. You know what I mean? So think outside the box, because we're going to be living outside the box. Think about Monday. I watched it. Very good, very strong, about sea greens and kelp, shellfish, to strengthen their shells and so on as a part of that 60 Minutes from last Sunday. And watch all three segments. All three were good. We're going to be using food domes, around the country for us to eat again, make it healthy. Not else except it's our turn and we're next. Okay? So with that being said, thanks everybody for listening again to the big call this Tuesday night. Don't know about next Thursday. Don't know. Maybe. We'll see. But just keep an eye out for the toll-free numbers over the next day or so. Let's see what happens. We could be in really good shape. We're probably very close. I've heard, this is the analogy that I've heard from a European banker. It said, we are at the doorstep. We are on the doorstep. Our hand is on the doorknob. And the next day or so should be really, really good. Well, that's what I'm hoping for, guys, just like you are. Let's see where this goes. And everybody stay in faith for it. Don't anyone give up on it at this late stage of the game. There's no quitting. No quitting. And Bruce and the team for the big call is with you, okay? And we're all going to be with you after the fact. All right, let's do this. Let's see if Pastor Stephen is still with it.